European premiere of Evita.
Hello and welcome to the most eagerly awaited film event of the year. Yes, we've got the hottest tickets in town for the European premiere of Evita the movie. Now, it's not every day that Madonna comes to town, but we will be talking exclusively to her later in the show.
And her co-stars Antonio Banderas, Jonathan Pryce and Jimmy Nail will also be talking to us too. Plus, we'll be telling you everything you need to know about the making of one of the most talked about movies of the decade.
An invitation to this premiere has proved to be worth its weight in gold, but that hasn't deterred a host of top show business names from gathering for this glitzy occasion. Are you a fan of Madonna's? I mean, have you mentioned
Yes, I think her music's wonderful, and she's a fellow mum too now.
Exactly.
So it's great.
A wealth of celebrities are not the only people who turned out to catch a glimpse of the stars of Evita. Leicester Square is packed full of fans waiting patiently for one lady in particular. I wonder who that could be. All right. So you're here to see Jimmy Nail, are you?
What do you think?
Okay, how long you been waiting here for?
Since 10 o'clock this morning.
What is so good about Madonna?
Do I have to explain?
Why is she the best?
Oh, she's just a megastar. She can sing, she can act, she can do everything, can't she?
No one better. What time did you get here today?
9 o'clock.
Why?
Because we want to see Madonna. We absolutely love her.
What is so good about Madonna?
Everything. Her music, her films, herself, everything.
There's going to be some members of the royal family here as well. You bothered about them tonight?
Not really, no. I think Madonna's got more prestige than the Queen will ever have.
Evita the movie has taken an age to get made. It was back in 1978 that Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber penned the musical that became an instant hit on both sides of the Atlantic. Hollywood recognised the sweet smell of success and decided that it wanted a piece of the action. Evita has always had the right ingredients for the perfect movie. For starters, it's got the compelling story. A young actress comes from nowhere and ends up one of the most powerful women in the world. Add a smidgen of tragedy, a best-selling musical score, and hey presto, you've got a hit on your hands. So why has the story of Evita reaching the big screen become an epic in itself? One of the main problems has been finding an actress with the right stuff to play Eva Peron. The search has taken on legendary proportions. One of the first names mooted was, of course, Elaine Paige, but the Hollywood honchos wanted an international film star. Rumours abounded that Olivia Newton-John, Liza Minnelli and Glenn Close were all in the running. Competition between the grand dames of Hollywood became so fierce that one lady went one step further. Meryl Streep took tango and singing lessons, but to no avail. She was pipped at the post by Michelle Pfeiffer, who then shocked everyone by refusing to film outside America. After 15 years, the producers were back to square one. Now, if that wasn't enough of a headache, who was going to play Che Guevara, or for that matter, Juan Perón? Parts that eventually went to Antonio Banderas and Jonathan Pryce. The answer is just about every star in Tinseltown. John Travolta, Sylvester Stallone and Meat Loaf all went for the part of Che. One director even pursued Elton John for the role of Juan Perón, but neither the director or Elton John stayed in the frame for long. One man who has lived through this entire saga is Robert Stigwood, an Australian music tycoon who's been on board as a producer since Evita first hit the West End stage.
I've never, ever given up on it. Many people have, as you know, whether it's long history, but no.
Overall, the sort of the highs and lows, you know, over the years, what was the most frustrating time for you?
I think the last time round, before Alan, when I had Oliver Stone back on board, and he and Madonna fell out a few years back, and then I got them back together, and then Oliver's budget was impossible. We were running into 80 million, so I had to fire him for the second time.
In your mind, was there anyone other than Madonna who could have played the Storm eventually?
Perhaps, but I've stayed with Madonna for the last 5 years, and Antonia. I've had them both trained to sing the parts. Our wonderful musical supervisor, David Caddy, taught both Antonio and Madonna. And I must say they've been incredible to me, because it's like offering a present and not being able to deliver. But they've been incredibly loyal and stayed with me the last 5 years.
So there you go, 18 years, 11 directors, and 101 stars later, Evita the movie has finally been made.
Now, for the past 3 years, the one man who's been in the frame to play the part of the narrator Che is the incredibly sexy Antonio Banderas. For him, the fact that the film has finally been made is also a dream come true, as I found out when I met up with him earlier. Antonio, when did your great passion for Evita begin?
In 1976, when I first heard the musical, and at the time I was putting money together for a couple of weeks just to buy the record, and I was fan of Andrew Lloyd Webber because of Jesus Christ Superstar, and so from that time I knew about this musical, and I knew all the music and wars and the political background and everything that is coming with it.
And did you ever think at that point, this is a role I would just love to do, or was that kind of a million miles away from your thoughts?
Yes, obviously I thought this is the kind of role that I would like to do, but at that time I couldn't even think that I was going to do that role, and specifically, you know, in a Hollywood production. This is, you know, no way.
So were there moments then when you were making it, when you were kind of transported back to being that 19-year-old thinking, I can't believe I'm here doing it?
Sometimes, especially at the recording time, when we were recording the album. I remember one day that Madonna and I, we went to the recording studio, and there was an orchestra there with, I don't know, 140 professors, and they started playing the waltz, and it was pretty emotional, very special moment. Very scary too at the same time.
Yes, it must have been very daunting actually having to sing with a great orchestra like that.
It is. It's a challenge. The whole movie is a challenge. I mean, this is a very special movie. This is not a normal project, especially because we lost the tradition of musicals a long time ago. So we don't have the codes just to connect with the audience, or probably yes. I mean, this is the enigma of this movie. But that's at the same time what makes this movie completely special. I mean, you can pay, just put it that way, you just can pay $7 or whatever, you just go to the movie theater, you can close your eyes and you can have a wonderful concert, you know. But if you open your eyes, you are going to have the spectacularity and brought to us by Alan Parker, you know, which is very rich directing in terms of images. You're going to have two excellent British actors like Jonathan Pryce and Jimmy Nails. You're going to have probably the best Madonna you can get. And also a Spanish guy with a pretty strong accent, but you know, I think
he's all right.
I think it's fine.
Oh, what an exit, that's how to go. When they're ringing your curtain down, demand to be buried like Eva Peron. It's quite a sunset, and good for the country in a roundabout way. We've made the front page of all the world's papers today. But who is this Santa Evita?
But do you think people will be surprised by the sort of quality of your singing, which is fantastic?
Yeah, probably that's, yeah. I mean, yes, because I consider myself a musical guy, but I play piano, play guitar with myself, but I never did that publicly or professionally, exception of these two movies that you just mentioned. So, yes, it's going to be a surprise. I hope it's going to be a good surprise.
I think it probably will. And of course, you sang publicly for Alan Parker when you first met him, didn't you?
No, it's not true. I mean, there was a story, it's a confusing story about that, you know. I think I hum a little bit, but never I sang to him, and never the audience around, I mean, the people in other tables at that restaurant in Miami, they never perceived that. No, basically in that appointment we were talking about the possibility of using the icon of Che Guevara or not, and we decided finally, I mean, he decided, because he's the director, and we are not going to use the Guevara part of it, you know. We are going to make a narrator that is more neutral. Otherwise, this is going to become kind of corny, you know. And I think he was absolutely right with that decision.
It's an extraordinary time for you professionally, but also personally. You got divorced, you got married, you were about to become a father for the first time.
Right.
How will you look back on this period?
It was very strong, especially for the public projection of it. I mean, you can do these kind of things and they can be painful or not, or, you know, hopeful for your new life or having a baby, whatever. But when the whole thing is in the public eye in the way that it was, in my case, it's very difficult because it's a monster that you cannot control. There is a point of no return there. I mean, you are a journalist, but there are all the other journalists, they call themselves journalists, they are not. They are not. They are people who are just trying to make money with scandals and just pushing buttons that are not right. And they trespass completely the limits of the human condition.
Yes, because you became virtually a prisoner when you were in London filming, certainly, didn't you? You could hardly go out because there was so many press about.
I've been prisoner in London, in Argentina, in my own country. I had 20 paparazzi just waiting if I'm going to buy cigarettes that day or not. So you tell me what is interesting on that. Probably what they wanted is that if I got a crash with my car so they can have something more interesting. I don't know, you know, the whole thing turns into that. I've been naked in a magazine, it was not my body. It was not my body, someone in internet did that. And so the situations like that constantly, you know, you cannot sue these guys because I would be all day long in a trial.
Yeah.
I mean, if I put all the news that have been, you know, thrown about myself in all those magazines, I would have committed suicide if my life were like that, you know.
You'd never have time to make another film.
It's
Now,
impossible.
did yourself and Madonna do a lot of baby chat on the set then?
Not at all. I just knew that Madonna was pregnant a week and a half before we finished. It was beautiful working with her. She was very committed and she was very serious about the character. Absolutely beautiful.
The struggle to get Evita onto the big screen proved to be only half the battle. Once the director, cast and crew were all on board, they soon realised that the making of this movie was not going to be an easy task. In fact, you could say it was the beginning of a whole new drama. From Buenos Aires to Budapest via London. It took the 600-strong crew 84 days at a total cost of $60 million to tell this remarkable story. Eva Perón, or Evita as she was affectionately known, was an illegitimate girl who rose from blinding poverty to become the most powerful woman in South America. At the age of 25, she married Colonel Juan Perón, a rising politician and soldier, and thus began a partnership which was to rule Argentina. Their joint charisma and ruthless ambition won them a people's army of supporters, but managed to upset the upper echelons of Argentinian society, including the influential military. Saint or sinner, no one can deny that Evita hypnotized a nation of 18 million people for 7 years before dying in 1952 of cancer when she was just 33 years old.
You must love me. You must love me.
It would have been an impossible task to attempt to tell her story without filming in her home country of Argentina. One of the first problems came from loyal Perón supporters who objected to Madonna as the choice for their heroine. Then the director Alan Parker and the largely British crew were not particularly welcomed, as feelings about the Falklands War still run high in Buenos Aires. So how on earth were they going to persuade the Argentinian president, Carlos Menem, to let them use the balcony of the famous Pink Palace for one of the most vital scenes in the movie? It took the powers of persuasion of one woman in particular. How important was that to the film? Because presumably you could have recreated that on a soundstage.
We could have done, and except that I think that, well, the heart of the original piece, you know, the spirit of it, is Argentina, and then to be in Argentina, even if I could only be there for a few weeks, I knew that I had to get as much as I could out of it, and we were there longer than that, and it turned out, you know, first of all they didn't want us to be there, and then they finally did want us to be there, and we captured the heart of the story there. So I think although you could have replicated it on a soundstage, it would not have been as real. Sometimes for filmmakers you need to smell the place before you can do something good, you know.
You also took on the difficult task of wanting to make a sung-through musical. 2 hours, 10 minutes without any spoken word in there, everything's sung. Did you have any doubts that it might not work on cinema in 1996, 1997?
Well, you know, I was determined to make a contemporary film, you know. I didn't really think of it as a musical, and in the decisions that I made it as if I was making a normal dramatic film. The reason it's never got made is because it was always going to be a huge film and therefore an expensive one, and it's sung through, you know. I mean, there's a risk if the elements aren't quite right, and the elements became correct on this, and so it did get made. But did I worry? Yeah, sure I worried, you know. But I mean, maybe I didn't stop worrying until like a week or 2 weeks in, you know, when you see the work you're doing, and then you think, well, maybe we'll pull it off, you know. But in the end, that was a challenge, was making it as a musical, and actually, if you did pull it off, we might make something very special, and we hope we have.
It's such a powerful movie, and it's obviously consumed a large portion of your working life. I mean, how do you top it? What do you do next? What do you do for light relief after this?
Well, light relief, I don't know. You need a rest. It is, as you say, it's 2 years, and most of those 2 years have been 7 days a week. So it's kind of a relief to finish it, and it is, you know, whether people like it or don't like it, in the end, it's still 2 years out of my life, you know. We hope that people are going to respond to it, and it is a gigantic film, there's no doubt about that. I don't know, the natural response is that you do something very small, you know, 2 people in 1 room probably. But I don't know, once you've had the full toolkit, it's hard to go back.
Well, I'm now being joined by Jimmy Nail, who plays Augustin Magaldi, the tango singer who first brings the young Eva Peron to Buenos Aires. Welcome.
Thank
you. Congratulations on the film. How are you enjoying tonight? Because this is kind of your first big movie premiere, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I was at Los Angeles, and the Hollywood one was completely insane. So this one isn't too bad in comparison to that. It's pretty crazy out there, but that was like World War III.
How important a role is this for you?
Ask me that in 6 months. I don't know. We'll see if the phone rings next week. It depends, you know. I think if you're seen in something that's successful, it can't do you any harm.
But I mean, is Hollywood kind of ultimately where you're heading for these days? Have you enjoyed this taste of it so far?
Well, that will be enjoyable, but you have to keep it in perspective. It's only one role in one movie. We'll see. It will be enjoyable, but I'm a realist.
Now, there was a story going around that you accepted the role because you heard that Madonna was in it.
No, that's Alan's little joke. I actually, I got sent the script and I was looking through it, and they were, excuse me, I've got a bad throat. They were arguing about money, and my agents were saying, oh, we can't do this. And I got to my first scene, and it said I was in bed with Madonna's character. So I said, oh, it doesn't matter about the money, just take it. We'll do it. We'll do this.
But you actually did the bed scene kind of towards the end of filming. Did that make it a lot easier to do?
Yes. I mean, if you get into bed with someone that you really don't know, I mean, sometimes you have to do that. But thankfully, we'd got to know each other a little better by then. So we could have a laugh about it. You know, it wasn't at all awkward. It's not at all a bad scene, really. I mean, it's Disney, you know, had the scissors in.
She has described you as a real pussycat.
Well, I am, that's true.
Of course, Jimmy, that's how you know. Were those feelings reciprocated?
Pussycat, yes, well, you could call her that, couldn't you? Yeah. She's very nice. We had a lot of laughs. We had a lot of laughs yesterday at the, I sound like Cilla Black, don't I? We had a lot of laughs.
What laughs, Chuck?
No, we had a good time yesterday at the press conference, and I went up and saw the baby, and it was very sweet. So, yeah, she's cool.
Listen, thank you very much for
joining
us. And,
enjoy the movie.
I hope that phone rings a lot in 6 months' time.
Well, we'll see, as long as it hasn't been cut off by then.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Join us after the break to meet Madonna, the undisputed star of Evita. She'll be talking to us exclusively about her hopes for an Oscar and how she's settling into motherhood. Plus tonight's celebrity audience tell us what they think of the movie. Don't go away.
Ever get the feeling you've lived before?
Welcome back to the Empire Leicester Square, home for tonight's European premiere of Evita. Now, in just a few minutes, Madonna will be arriving, but in the meantime, I've been joined by the man who plays Juan Perón, president of Argentina, and husband, of course, of Evita, Jonathan Pryce. Jonathan, just tell me about your initial meeting with Alan Parker, which didn't really happen. I mean, it all went terribly wrong, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I was on holiday in France and he wanted to meet. I didn't particularly want to come back to London, so he flew to Marseille airport, not being told that my American agents had cancelled the meeting. So he spent 5 hours wandering around looking for a tall Welshman in Marseille. But we eventually did meet up in London.
You've been quoted as saying that the concept of doing a musical on film is a pretty dangerous one. So were you at all reticent?
Did I say that?
Apparently,
Yeah.
Who knows? But were you at all reticent about accepting the role?
No, I thought it was quite an exciting project. And, you know, I had just come out of Oliver, swearing never to do another musical. And then this came along, and it seemed a good opportunity to put into practice the things that I'd learned, the things I'd enjoyed about musicals, and putting it into my film work.
How different is it doing it on film than on stage?
We used to do it once on film. You don't have to do it 8 times a week. But everything I'd learned, especially from Miss Saigon, about singing dramatically, I was able to put into Evita. So I wasn't too afraid doing it.
And you obviously feel that it works well, do you?
I think the film's extraordinary. I mean, it's hugely impressive. It's of epic filmmaking. I think Alan Parker's done a wonderful job with it.
So it's something you look back on proudly then?
I hope so, yeah. Yeah.
Well, enjoy tonight. Thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
All right, thanks.
Now, the other star of Evita needs little introduction, but before we meet her, let's have a look back at her phenomenal career.
We took a holiday. Time to celebrate. Like a virgin. Keep your heartbeat next to mine. Don't freak. I've been losing sleep, but I made up my mind. I'm keeping my baby. When you call my name, it's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I wanna take you there. You've got to.
The word superstar seems to be fading in favor of icon, and Madonna is the icon of the last decade.
Madonna burst onto the music scene 12 years ago, and since the release of her first single at the age of 25, she's had more top 10 hits than any other female artist.
She's got a good voice. She's not one of our time's greatest vocalists like Barbra Streisand or Aretha Franklin, but she has a good enough voice, and she's always been smart enough to work with the best writers and producers for the job.
I think we can tell with Madonna that she works damn hard. I mean, she really has a sort of working class work ethic, which I think is very important. I think that's come through a lot in her movie of Evita. And I think all of her music that she's done for us so far, she really works damn hard. She dances hard, she sings hard, and it comes through in her work.
She has lived most of her life in the limelight, but then her life has been characterized by high drama. Her tempestuous marriage to Sean Penn lasted 4 years. She's dated the likes of Warren Beatty and openly promoted her gender-bender image, canoodling with the likes of Sandra Bernhard. Madonna knows how to play the fame game better than anyone else, and it's paid off. A recent estimate put her personal fortune at over $100 million.
Madonna has benefited from those who've gone before her, and she's been very smart in her deals. She's been particularly smart in setting up her own record company. Remember, she's making money out of Alanis Morissette, for example. She is a very canny woman, and she's canny as an artist and canny as a businesswoman.
However, she's not infallible. Her film documentary, In Bed with Madonna, wasn't as widely acclaimed as she'd hoped, and her notoriously explicit book on sex was slated.
I think her book Sex really put her career back a long way. I think a lot of people were just too upset by it. I think, yes, everybody's interested in sex, but maybe not as upfront as she's made it. I think other people have said that, but it's true. I think she really pushed it too far then, and I think a lot of people for 5 years really felt, ew, Madonna, maybe not.
This used to be my playground.
It seemed for a while that Madonna couldn't put her foot right. Audiences walked out of cinemas during screenings of Body of Evidence, and she further appalled American television viewers when she littered her appearance on The Letterman Show with the F word. Then, earlier this year, she fell victim to her own success when she became the target of a stalker. Now perhaps comes the biggest professional gamble, her role as Argentina's femme fatale.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
I think this movie is a resurrection for her, if she's a success in it, which I hear she is. I think it's going to be the relaunch of Madonna, and bigger and better than she ever was before. We all need big, bright, shining stars, and she really is one.
So who better to play the First Lady of Argentina than the First Lady of Pop?
Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you.
Madonna, welcome over here. Tonight's the big premiere. The film's been really well received by the critics, but rewind to when you first heard about that part. Why did you want to go after it?
Because it's an excellent part for any actress.
But you said, you've been quoted as saying many people see Eva Peron as either a saint or the reincarnation of Satan. That means I can definitely identify with her. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think she's been, she is a myth at this point in our culture, and when anyone becomes a myth, it's very hard to know what's true and what isn't true, and suddenly you become this larger-than-life person who isn't really endowed with any human characteristics, and, well, I can certainly relate to that.
Now, you wrote a long letter to Alan Parker. He says begging for the part. Did
Yes.
you find it unusual having to go through that process like, any aspiring actress?
No, not at all. I expected it. There were a lot of actresses that wanted that part, and I was just one of them in a very long line. So.
Did he take a lot of convincing?
Well, I wrote him a letter, and then we had several meetings, and each time we met, I felt that I was closer than the last time we met, and then suddenly I had the part.
You said also that you're the only person you thought who could have played the part.
Because she was portrayed as either a saint or a sinner, and there was no in-between, I could certainly relate to that. So I felt that I could apply my own experiences in life in my portrayal of her. And I also felt that I could understand the passion that she felt when she was a young girl leaving a very small town, going to a big city, just determined to make something out of her life. I could certainly relate to that.
Do you see the film as like a changing point in your career, going from being a pop icon to moving into movies?
Yes, I do. I think, first of all, it was the first really good film that I've ever been in, and I really challenged myself as an actress and a singer. So both my singing and my acting careers, I think, will benefit from it. And I've made lots of records and been on tour many, many times. I think I'm a lot more interested in acting right now. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop writing music and singing, because I love that too. So.
But you also got this other little thing in your life as well, haven't you? Which
Yes,
came along
very little thing.
during the movie. Now, how's that changed the life of the sort of racy Madonna who's always out in town?
Well, she's my first priority, so I don't think I will ever make another decision again without thinking about her. As an artist, I'm not sure. I think the things that interest me will change. I think that probably my songwriting will change. How, I don't know, because I haven't started working on that since I've been working on this movie. But I will always think about how everything I do will affect her. So I'm sure things will change.
She's here with you now at the moment on this publicity tour.
Yes.
How do you work that into doing the interviews? If you suddenly get the
I
call
run
saying-
back and forth a lot.
You suddenly get the call from the nanny saying, help, she needs breastfeeding. You
Yes.
have to go off, and that's it.
Yes, that's what I do.
Do you find that difficult, juggling the two careers?
Well, being a mother's not a career. And I do find it difficult, but not impossible. I think you You just have to be very organized and figure out a way to work it all in.
Do you think the media will treat you any different? Because you have had a pretty raw deal from some areas of that industry.
I'll say. Well, what I hope is that they pay more attention to my work and less attention to my personal life.
Okay, I've got to ask you the final question now. Great movie out. New baby.
Yes?
You're going to enjoy this Christmas, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
How are you going to spend it? What are you going to do?
I'm going to be in New York with Carlos and his family, and just very simple with my friends and my family.
And next year, the Oscars?
I hope I'll be there.
I think you will as well. Madonna, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, judging from the roar outside, Madonna must just have arrived. A very loyal crowd have been waiting patiently for her here in Leicester Square for most of the day. She poses quickly for the photographers and makes her way inside, where she's greeted by a host of film crews flown in from around Europe for this special occasion. Madonna had her first premiere of Evita last Saturday in Los Angeles, before flying here to London, the city chosen as the host for the European premiere. The film opens first over in America on Christmas Day, but we'll have to wait until January the 3rd before it hits cinemas across the country. Well, Madonna now makes her way inside the cinema, where her co-stars and director Alan Parker are waiting. So whilst the audience settle down to watch the film, we've picked one of our favourite clips from Evita to give you another taster of what they're going to be enjoying.
Very simple, ever a fundamental system of government, quite incidental.
So go if you're able to somewhere unstable and stay there. Whip up your hate in some tottering state, but not here, dear. Is that clear, dear?
Well, the movie's just ended. What do the stars of the film and tonight's celebrity audience think of the premiere?
Great. Fantastic.
Alan, what did you think of the reaction tonight?
Pretty amazing. Really good. Yeah, excellent.
You've got lipstick all over you as well, by the
I
way.
know, it's Madonna's. Sorry, I have Madonna's lipstick.
It was beautiful. It was a very serious screening. People was in a silence that was unbelievable, beautiful. People reacting in the way we wanted.
Just completely overwhelming. It's the most wonderful production. Very, very moving. It's got me.
As one of the world's greatest singers, you'd probably appreciate that sort of movie, wouldn't you?
I thought some superb music in there. I mean, we know the strength of the music, and the acting performances brilliant from everybody, especially the English contingent.
A lot of singing. A lot of singing about Argentina. No, it's very good. Very good it was. Madonna's very good at it.
What do you think of the film?
I think it's amazing. It's really amazing. It's emotional. You feel everything. I mean, I didn't really know the story of Eva Peron, so you learn from it, and you don't know.
Prime Minister, a very brief word about the film. What did you think of it?
I thought it was absolutely wonderful.
Who did you like in it, particularly?
I thought they were all marvellous. I thought Madonna was just tremendous.
Did you get any tips about political survival from a film like that?
Not sure the methods of political survival there were quite applicable here.
Prime Minister, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
It was really good to see you and Andrew coming here together. All this talk about a rift, is that all nonsense?
Talk about a raft?
A rift?
A rift. Absolute nonsense. Cobblers.
You're going to be working together again in the future?
I don't want to work ever again.
You don't
with
need to.
anybody.
So Tim, thank you very much.
I've got enough on my plate, but who knows?
20 years on, do you think, you know, when you've finally seen it on film tonight, was it really worth all the effort?
Well, I think, you know, it's marvellous that it's been done, you know. It's funny for me because, of course, in one sense, I haven't been that involved with it, but you know, they've had the courage and the conviction to do it, and they've made a screen opera, and hasn't been done for years, that. It's fab.
Magnificent direction, caught the mood. I mean, really, you'd have to say, probably, you know, 10 out of 10.
Well, that's almost it from us for tonight. Thank you for joining us for this very special occasion. And before we head off, we're going to leave you with one last taster from the film.
It's a song that first went to #1 on Christmas Day 20 years ago. On that occasion, it was performed by Julie Covington, but earlier this week, it was released as a single by Madonna. It is, of course, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina. Bye-bye.
Don't keep your distance. And And as for fortune, and as for fame, I never invited them in. Though it seemed to the world they were all I desired, they are illusions, they're not the solutions they promised to be. The answer was here all the time. I love you and hope you love me. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise. Don't keep your distance. Have I said too much? There's nothing more I can think of to say to you. But all you have to do is look at me to know that every word is true.
The management executive